Hello, hello. This is Shauna Kale. Hi, Sherry. How are you doing tonight? So I am going to share my screen. And go ahead and get started. I am happy to have Sherry on here with me. Hi, Sherry. So we are going to be talking about hormones for her, for us, for me. So, Sherry, do you know how to use Zoom? Do you know how to use the chat box?
I don't think I've tried the chat box.
Okay. So there is a little chat box that will allow you to ask questions while we're going, or to just fill me in if I ask any questions during, because I am going to record this so that a way I can still get information from you, all right, and anybody else that may be joining us. But I'm really going to share tonight a little bit about my story, my hormone emotional roller coaster story, and then I am really going to get into some solutions. So I hope that works for you tonight and anybody else that joins us. So I really just tell people that I am pretty sure I lived on the hormonal emotional roller coaster nonstop from 13 to 39 years of age. I didn't even know that's what it was called at the time. Learned that a little later. But I had issues from pretty much day one. I had very, very heavy cycles that lasted very long. So 7 days would be good for me, but sometimes it was 8. I would be doing well to go 25 days between my cycles, but the average was more like 21 to 23. If anybody else was on their period, I would be on my period too. So there were months that I would have multiple periods. And each time it was just as heavy as the first time. So it wasn't like if I had one sooner, it was less. The cramping, I was that junior high girl that like wore the sweater, the jacket around her waist, because I really could not get through a day on my cycle that I wasn't having issues. Spent junior high in the library reading books during that week, because we had a great librarian that would say, as long as you're reading, you can go lay back here and relax. But high school was not quite that easy. Found myself in the bathroom a lot, getting the passes. And then when I started working full time, it wasn't like I could take off work that week, especially the first day was always like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I wasn't very productive at work. It just was not good. But I was told many, many times that that was normal. And I don't believe that's normal. I would continue to go like that until I was 25 years of age, when I got pregnant with my oldest son, had a wonderful pregnancy. It was actually one of those things like I was like, thank the Lord, in 9 months without a cycle. And then I went probably a good 6 months nursing him. I nursed him longer, but I think probably 6 months before I started my cycle again. And it came back with a vengeance. And then when my oldest was 3, I had my first miscarriage. Again, I was told that that was normal. And, you know, it kind of made me feel better. Like maybe it wasn't my fault, but I didn't understand it, and I didn't feel like it was normal, but that's what people said. You know, you can have another one. We had our daughter, who I call my rainbow baby, and she's 18 years of age, and she does live in the rainbow world. I'm kind of a black and white person, and she is my colorful one. And again, that pregnancy was a little bit more difficult, wasn't quite as blissful as the first one, but it was still nice not to have the monthly periods. Hello, Alicia. And so then when she was 3, I had my second miscarriage. And again, I was told that that was normal. And I was just happy that I had 2 kids. and decided to just kind of move forward. But my cycles every year that I was older got worse. It wasn't like anything ever got better. And by then I was homeschooling my kids, and I was so happy that I had a little bit more of the luxury of being home on that first day of my period, because I don't know that I could have gone to work if I had worked full time and hadn't been able to make that choice. It was just that bad. And then in 2010, or then I had in 2006, my third son, Bryce. He is 12. Pregnancy was okay. It wasn't the best, but it was okay. But then when he was 4, I had got pregnant in 2010 and pretty much had a traumatic miscarriage that almost killed me. I have been in the medical field for many years and never understood how anybody could bleed to death. And I was that woman laying in my bed bleeding to death and wasn't even really aware. And so definitely have a little bit more sympathy for those people that are going through it, because it's a little bit different when you are living that life. My doctor that I had from 25 until 39 years of age did save my life. So I am appreciative of that. But again, I continue to hear it was normal. And while I was laying in that hospital bed after my third miscarriage and just by the hair of my chinny chin chin alive, I knew that that wasn't normal. And I knew that there had to be a solution. And I was going to find that solution. There was no just, this is normal. I knew that if it had progressed from 13, at this time I was 39 years of age, if it had progressed to this and had only gotten worse, when I heard about people talking about perimenopause and menopause and how terrible that was, I was like, no, like I'm not dealing with that. And so I really went out searching and praying for answers. And when I read in a Natural Awakenings magazine, I don't know if you all have ever seen Natural Awakening magazines, but I opened it up and it had this ad, and it said, if you are living on the hormonal emotional roller coaster, we are here to help. And I had never even really heard that term, but as soon as I read it, kind of gives me chills talking about it. As soon as I read it, I was like, oh my gosh, that's me. I've been living on the hormone emotional roller coaster. And I felt like somebody understood, because I never felt like my doctor understood. And I even went to some female doctors thinking they would understand. And then I'd end up going back to him when I'd get pregnant, because he was great during my pregnancies, but I just didn't feel like he understood. And the women doctors, they didn't help me either. They didn't have any better solutions than he had. And so after I read that, I was like, what does this person have to offer me that my doctor didn't? She was a naturopath. I didn't even know what that was. I had to Google it. But I decided that I was needing help, that I could not continue going down that path. And so when I went to see her, I'm going to be honest, she gave me this list of things that were going to help. And I thought she was a bit crazy. And I already thought my doctor was crazy, but she might have been a little crazier. But I like to prove people wrong. And I decided that none of the things that she was asking me to change or do was going to harm me. So if they could help me even a little bit, that it would be worth it. And I had my very first period, I'm going to say my very first period ever in my life within 30 days of making those changes. And I didn't even know what a normal period was until then, because I always had headaches a minimum of 3 days before I started. I never had to keep track. I knew exactly when I was going to start, because my cycle was so off that sometimes, like I said, it'd be 21 days. Sometimes it'd be 25 days. If it was 28 days, I was pregnant. Like I knew. If I didn't have 2 periods in a month, that was weird. Like, maybe February, I might get there if I'm pregnant. But when I didn't have a headache and I was walking down the hall and I was surprised by my period, I said, something that I'm doing is working. And what I learned during that time and in the last 8 years is what a normal period looks like. So I just want to tell you guys that if your cycle or somebody you know's cycle is dark and clumpy, that is a good sign of high estrogen or estrogen dominance. And that is what I was. And I was always told I was normal. Okay. If it is light pink and thin, frequently late cycles or not predictable, it usually means a low estrogen. And a normal cycle is a saturated red, fresh color, and on time. Since I was 39 years of age, other than a few times in between, I've had have to kind of work on getting my hormones balanced, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. I have been a good 25 days, which compared to 21 is pretty good, 25 days, and rarely will have a headache. I've gone through a little season of perimenopause in the last year that I've been having to deal with that a little bit. Those are some signs and signals to my body that things are changing and I need to change with it. And so my goal for this webinar tonight is to help people see what some of the signs and symptoms are and to know that this is not normal and that there are solutions. So I want to welcome each of you that are here live tonight, and then I am going to be putting this webinar on the group that's called the Wellness Club Workshop Group, so that a way it's in a unit and you can go to it or some people. If you didn't see, there is also a handout that you can print out that I put on there that gives you some information. I will be going over some of that, but that's some great information just to have, because I know sometimes it's hard to take all the notes, but you will be able to go back to this too if you have questions later, because women are constantly changing. If you think what you're doing today is going to work next year, you're probably wrong, because every year we are going to be changing. Okay, now the products I am going to be talking about tonight are Young Living products. If you do not know about Young Living, I highly recommend going to seedtosil.com, because it has some great information on why it's important to use essential oils and use supplements that are done the right way, that are not synthetic, they haven't been adulterated. So my story on that is I bought my first bottle of lavender. I'm looking at this bottle of lavender here on the screen. I bought it at a farmer's market. And the next week I was going back to get peppermint, and thank God I did not go back and get the peppermint, because I learned from the lady selling it that I shouldn't be putting my lavender on my skin. Now, if you've done any research on lavender, lavender is great for the skin. And so I was, okay, I need to check out what this brand's, why things are different. And I, at the time, had been working on my hormones for about 9 months. And the last thing I wanted to do was add something to my body that was going to be a hormone disruptor. Okay. And synthetic essential oils out there, or adulterated oils, are one of the largest endocrine disruptors out there. So when you even see on the back of perfumes or lotions, and it will say essential oils, or it may say lavender, it may not even say essential oil, but it may say lavender, chances are it is adulterated and it's going to be a hormone disruptor. And the first thing we can do to help our hormones is stay away from hormone disruptors. Now, tonight, I am not going into all the problems and the issues with our food and with our products that we are putting in our body and on our body to cause some of this. Tonight is more about the solutions. But if you are part of my wellness club, there is information that I will be adding in there about those things too as we progress forward. And there's already about 5 units that has a lot of that information in it. All right. So we're going to get started on what are hormones. In order to really understand our body and its needs, it's helpful to understand how our body works. So a healthy endocrine system, this is really important, equals healthy moods, skin, bowels, and more. So let's dive in and really get into this. Our endocrine system, okay, the 4 main things we're going to be talking about is the thyroid, the pancreas, the ovaries, and the adrenals. And we're really not going to get too much into the pancreas, because that's a whole nother topic. I'm really talking about insulin, but know that the pancreas is part of our endocrine system and it does affect our hormones. Okay, so hormones are like little chemical messengers in our body that really regulates our metabolism, all right, our growth, our development, tissue function, sexual function, reproduction, sleep, and mood, among other things. Now, I have been a physical therapist for over 25 years now, and it was funny. I would always hear ladies as they were hitting menopause or after menopause telling me they didn't have hormones anymore. We cannot live without hormones. They are chemical messengers. So no matter where you are, it doesn't matter if you've had a hysterectomy or anything else removed, you still have hormones, okay? These messengers are produced by the glands and secreted directly into the circulatory system to achieve homeostasis, which just means balance. So who could use a little hormonal balance? I know I have found that I want hormonal balance, right? So when our hormones are out of balance, it can contribute to migraines, insomnia, weak bones, weight gain, hot flashes, mood swings, infertility, low libido, to name a few, all right? And hormone balance, okay, that's what allows us to handle stress. But over time, if our hormones are having imbalance, this can lead to rapid aging and increase the risk of disease. If you've ever seen a woman go through a stressful time, it's a lot of times very obvious in how she looks. More wrinkles on her face, her hair color, just her skin. A lot of times you will be able to see this, and it's all related to our hormones. Now, your body is constantly working on the difficult task of keeping your system in balance. All right. So that's its goal. It wants to keep you in balance, but there are so many things out in the world, in our environment and inside within, on how we're handling things that makes our bodies work even harder to try and keep everything in balance. Stress, okay, poor diet, food choices, inadequate sleep, synthetic hormones, genetic factors, a less active lifestyle, all throw hormones out of whack and create health problems. But there is good news, right? Young Living has some essential oils and other products to support our body in this delicate balancing act. And that's what we're going to learn about. So one thing I would love for you guys to do for me in the chat or in comments is if you'll type in by the end of the night at least one thing that you learned already or will learn about hormones, okay? Because I want to hear your responses. So we're going to start with the thyroid gland. It's very important. It's a small butterfly-shaped gland that drapes across the front of your windpipe. It releases the thyroid hormone, and the thyroid hormone is what controls our growth and metabolism of essentially every part of our body. And even if we're not growing in stature anymore, our body is still growing. We have to have new red blood cells. We have new skin. Our body is consistently growing. And the thyroid gland, when it releases the thyroid hormone, already did that one. Thyroid disorders are common. In fact, 12% of people will experience abnormal thyroid function at some point during their lives. Now, I would say that's 12% of people that have been diagnosed with abnormal thyroid function, not the probably greater percentage of people that are dealing with it that don't even know it. Okay? So at the most basic level, thyroid hormone is responsible for coordinating energy, growth, and metabolism in your body. So it's very important. And problems occur when these hormone levels are too high or too low. So we're going to talk about that. Hypothyroidism, or low levels of thyroid hormone, slows your metabolism down. It decreases growth and the repair of many parts of the body. So I'm going to give you actually top 10 low thyroid symptoms, but I highly recommend, if you think that this could be an issue, that you look it up for yourself, because there may be more. And in the comments, if you will just put down if you are a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, any of these numbers, if you have any of these symptoms, just let me know. So 1 is feeling tired, 2 is gaining weight. Yes, understand that. Feeling cold. Weakness in the and aches in muscles and joints, or hair loss, itchy and dry skin, feeling down or depressed, trouble concentrating or remembering, constipation, or heavy or irregular periods. All right. So all 10 of these, doesn't mean you have to have all 10 to have low thyroid symptoms, but these could be signs, signals that there's something going on with your thyroid and it's not doing what it needs to do. It's not quite in balance. Okay, so what should you do if you have some of those symptoms? Well, if you are new to these symptoms and you haven't ever been tested for hypothyroidism, I highly recommend you go see your doctor and have that done. All right. Now, our thyroid gland can also do the opposite. This is called hyperthyroidism, or overactive thyroid. And this is when the thyroid gland produces too much of the hormone thyroxine, and it actually accelerates your body's metabolism, and this can cause unintentional weight loss. Now, I know we would all like to have it easy, right? But it's not necessarily good for our bodies to have this hyperthyroidism, because it can also cause a rapid or irregular heartbeat. How I always remember hyperthyroidism is think about somebody that's hyper and thin, right? So here are top 10 overactive thyroid symptoms. This would be like nervousness or irritability, weight loss again, like I said, excessive sweating, increased heart rate, tremors, thin and delicate skin, thyroid enlargement, sleep disturbances like insomnia, frequent bowel movements, or light or irregular periods. And so you can see some of those are actually quite the opposite of what you see with a hyperthyroid or a low thyroid. So again, what should you do for hyperthyroidism? Contact your doctor, right? What if one little pill could support your body so you feel energized, balanced, or maintain that healthy weight you've worked so hard for, right? How great would that be? There is a product and it's called Thyromin. Thyromin helps to maximize nutritional support for the healthy thyroid function. So it's actually in the little handout that I had, the little brochure. And this allows you to be proactive. So you don't have to have all of those symptoms to be like, well, do I need to go and have everything tested to make sure I'm hyper or hypothyroid? If you're having some of those symptoms and you find that you do go to the doctor and maybe the doctor says, hey, your thyroid is good, but you're having those symptoms. A lot of people are finding that way before your thyroid is out of balance on blood work, that you're having those symptoms. And I'm one of those people that my blood work looks really good, but I have a lot of those symptoms. And so being proactive and supporting our thyroid is something that we can do. You do not have to have any problems with your thyroid to use Thyromin. Actually, you want to use it before. It's like feeding your thyroid, right? You don't wait until something's almost dead before you start feeding it, all right? And what it has in it is iodine, and iodine is very, very important for our thyroid. It also has porcine glandular extract. So this is the thyroid from more or less pigs, all right? And your thyroid needs to create hormones. So by consuming the supplement and having a healthy lifestyle, you're actually supporting your thyroid in a positive way. It also has oils in it, which helps that your body will absorb more, which is always important. It has spearmint, peppermint, myrtle. Myrtle is like one of the best known essential oils to help support glandular balance. And it's not just your thyroid, but it is really known for your thyroid. Okay. The next gland I really want to talk about tonight is our adrenal glands. And the adrenal glands are like these small glands that sit right on top of our kidneys. So if you were to put your hands on your lower back, that is where your adrenals are. And they produce hormones that you can't live without. Okay. So you have to have sex hormones and cortisol to stay alive. Cortisol actually helps you respond to stress and has many more other important functions. But like the thyroid, your adrenal glands can make too much or not enough of the hormones that you need. So what is cortisol? Well, cortisol is known by most as the stress hormone because of its role in the body's stress response. But cortisol is more than just for stress. So we can look at this right here and see that it helps with blood sugar regulation. So when cortisol is out of balance, this can affect our blood sugar. Inflammation reduction. So a lot of people have heard of people taking like a cortisone shot. That is a synthetic version of cortisol in your body to help with inflammation. Okay. Metabolism regulation and memory formulation. So it's very important. We don't want to get rid of cortisol just because people call it the stress hormone, just like we get a negative effect. A lot of times we hear hormones and we're like, that's terrible. Hormones are good. It's just they need to be balanced. Cortisol is good. It just needs to be balanced. Okay. So what are some of the symptoms of high cortisol? Weight gain, mostly around the midsection and upper back. That was like one of my first signs, high cortisol, right? Acne, thinning skin. I've heard, I don't know how many times I've heard someone go, oh my gosh, I am however old, and I have acne worse than I did as a teenager. And you know, my skin is thin and I'm bruising. That is a good sign of high cortisol, and we need to be aware, okay? Now, a lot of times with high cortisol, people think of more energy, like it's giving you more, like you need to be able to run. But for some, it actually causes a severe fatigue. So some people are heightened up and some are brought down. It can cause high blood pressure. A lot of times it can cause headaches. So what are some of the symptoms of low cortisol? Well, again, this can be extreme fatigue. It can cause weight loss, salt cravings, low blood sugar, irritability, body hair loss, several different things on the list. And you can find these things if you Googled low cortisol, all right? So what to do? Again, I would recommend that if you think that your cortisol is out of balance, that you have it tested. And instead of a blood test, that a lot of times the doctors will do a blood test and it'll give you that moment in time and they'll kind of compare that where it should be. But saliva cortisol testing is even better because it'll do it several times through the day. Your cortisol should be at the highest in the morning. It's what kind of wakes you up and gets you out of bed. If you're having a hard time getting up out of bed in the morning, it may be that your cortisol is too low, at least too low in the morning. And then cortisol should be at its lowest when it's time to go to bed at night, you know, around 10 o'clock. Some people find they have a hard time getting out of bed, and then at nighttime they get that second wind and they have a hard time going to sleep. Okay, typically that is a cortisol out of balance. Your adrenals are not working on the clock like they need to be. Okay, and so it's good to know so that way you know how to best support your body. All right, it looks like I have a question here. Alicia says me. Yes, she understands, right? So one of the things that I highly recommend is that you are aware of how your body feels, okay? How you feel in the morning, how you're feeling at night, and what is stressing you out. Are you handling your stress well? Are you not handling stress? Now, what I love about Young Living is they have solutions for pretty much everything, and one of them is called Cortistop. All right. Now, this wonderful little thing, supplement, it's really, the name says it all. Okay. Cortistop. Because cortisol is a hormone produced by the adrenal gland in response to stress and low blood sugar, when you want to support a healthy amount of cortisol in your body, you're going to want to reach for Cortistop. Now, remember the fight or flight survival response. This hormone helps you survive. It is important. But again, too much of anything can be harmful to our body. So you can experience feelings of fatigue, again, that weight issues, and it even affects our cardiovascular system. So the supplement is going to help support your body in maintaining the natural balance and harmony, and it's designed to actually help us females with our glandular systems. Okay, this helps you wake up feeling more rested, less on edge. It helps you maintain your desired weight. Helps you feel more emotionally balanced and able to take on whatever life may throw you at next. And I don't know about you, but that sounds good to me, right? Now you can see here some wonderful essential oils that's promoting support for your whole body, your respiratory, your glandular systems, your digestive systems, your menstrual cycle. Like all of these are connected. If our cortisol goes up, it affects our estrogen, which we're going to talk about in a minute. It affects our insulin. It affects other areas. So we want to make sure that we have it in a good balance. Now, this recommends taking 2 capsules in the morning before breakfast and then taking in another 2 capsules before bed. I wanted to bring this up because it says use daily for 8 weeks and discontinue for use 2 to 4 weeks before resuming. And people always want to know why. Well, we want our bodies to do what they're supposed to do. We don't want to start preventing our adrenals from doing what it should do. We just want to help it out a little bit. So we're kind of retraining it. Think about retraining, okay? So we want to give our body a break. And usually how you're going to know, if you feel better on Cortistop and you stop it for 2 to 4 weeks and you're like, oh my gosh, I need my Cortistop, then continue to take it. And if you feel pretty good after getting off of it for a couple of weeks, then stay off of it until you feel like your body needs it again, because we want our bodies to do what it's supposed to do. So I would love for you to put in the chat one thing in your life that adds occasional stress, all right? What is that thing that causes stress in your life that may be causing the cortisol, okay, to kind of go up? The next thing I really want to talk about is women's reproductive hormones. These are our estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. There are other hormones, but these are the ones I specifically want to talk about because estrogens are our sex hormones, right? This is what allows us to be a woman. This gives us that female look. Also plays a big role in the growth and development of our breast, our pubic and armpit hair, our menstrual cycle, and our reproductive system. And during the menstrual cycle, estrogen produces an environment that's suitable for fertilization, okay? If everything isn't in balance, it can affect that. So an imbalance of these hormones can lead to unwanted health problems and physical changes, all right? Here are some of the signs of estrogen dominant symptoms. And when I saw this for the first time, I was like, Oh my gosh, like why had my doctor never told me this? Why had I never read this before? Because this was me by far, all right? There's also low estrogen symptoms, and a lot of times we see that as we're getting older. So now I'm kind of going through perimenopause, and instead of the high estrogen issues, I'm having the low estrogen issues. So this is more of like painful sex due to lack of vaginal lubrication. You can have an increase in urinary tract infections. I want to let people know that a lot of times as women get older, they're like, oh my gosh, when I sneeze, when I cough, I kind of wet on myself. That is a sign of low estrogen, okay? So know that these things are symptoms and signs, and they're just telling you. It's like a switch coming on in the car, telling you, hey, let's see what we can do to help. And what I love is Young Living has answers, and we're going to go over those. So progesterone, that's a hormone that stimulates and regulates important functions and plays a role in maintaining pregnancy, okay? It also plays a role in sexual desire, right? Symptoms of low progesterone, again, here it is. Now, I want to explain this real quick because some people are going, oh my gosh, I have the high estrogen, but I have low progesterone symptoms. And then you'll be tested and the doctor will say, well, your progesterone's normal, but yeah, your estrogen's kind of high. Well, what can happen is our estrogen and progesterone, if there is a big gap in between, that can make our bodies appear that there's not enough progesterone to kind of balance out all that extra estrogen, okay? And a lot of times we see headaches with high estrogen and we see headaches with low progesterone. So people are like, which is it? It could be a little bit of both. So too much progesterone can actually cause a weight gain, can cause fatigue, headaches, breast tenderness, bloating, mood swings. And then there's testosterone. And I know that most people think of testosterone as the male sex hormone, but women produce small amounts of this too, and it's very important. All right, this helps with maintaining our reproductive tissue. It helps with bone mass. It helps influence our behavior, how we're going to respond to things. And here are some symptoms of high testosterone in women. This wouldn't be in men, but this would be in women. So I had number one really bad when I was a teenager. I had that very terrible cystic acne. And now I have learned that that goes with high estrogen, high testosterone, low progesterone. All those work together just to make this metabolic tornado of things. And so if you find that, hey, I have all of these, and can you have high estrogen and low estrogen? Yes, if you're going through perimenopause, you may find part of the month you have high estrogen, part of the month you have low estrogen, and you're trying to figure balancing things out. So symptoms of low testosterone in women include a lack of sexual desire, a lack of sexual satisfaction, maybe a depressed mood, lethargy, and muscle weakness. I know for me, when I found out that my testosterone was low, I was having a hard time building up muscle mass. Okay, you exercise and you don't see any difference. So what to do? Again, if you think these are some of the symptoms you're having, check with your doctor to have your hormones tested. That is what your doctor is for. So there is hope for balancing your hormones. I promise. I know I said all of these things and you're like, oh my gosh, what can I do for it? Well, let me tell you, there are several ways we can help. Now, I want to let you guys know here on this Zoom, I only have about 40 minutes, and it may knock us off. I can't make any promises, but if it does, I want you to go back and use this same Zoom and we'll restart, not the whole thing, but where I was leaving off. So just wanting to let you know, if you're like, if I disappear, just know it's because we've hit some time and we'll start back, okay? So the Endogize. Has anybody ever utilized Endogize? I am saying it's pretty amazing, okay? It was created specifically for women and supporting our endocrine system, okay? And it contains DHEA, which is one of the most common hormones in the body. And though we didn't really talk about that hormone with the estrogen and the progesterone and the testosterone, just know that it is one of the things that as we get over the age of 20, it starts to decline, okay? So as it declines, it affects like lots of different things, like about 50 different hormones actually are need DHEA, okay? Including estrogen. So when our DHEA decreases, that affects our estrogen levels. So this is a great product for older women commonly experiencing low estrogen. Oh, did I disappear? Let's see here. Can y'all see me? Are y'all seeing this Zoom instead of seeing my, there we go. Like I said, it may knock us off. All right. So this is, like I was saying, really good for older women because it's helping balance things out. So I want to make sure that we don't confuse the word common with normal. I was kind of talking about this earlier. I hate, like, I almost despise now anybody to say the word normal because of so many years me hearing that is normal, that's normal, that's normal. Common, yes, in today's world in America, it may be common, but it is not normal. Okay. And what this supplement does is it helps support a healthy endocrine system so you don't have to be one of those women with this common side effects of imbalanced hormones. Okay. That's not normal. That is imbalanced. And it's also supportive of the adrenal glands. So Endogize is also infused with essential oils, and what you will notice as we go through some of these products is the same essential oils are used because these are the ones that help support the hormone system, right? So Clary Sage, ginger, myrrh, cassia. I love cassia. So this is a great product to do 1 capsule twice a day. And again, like the Thyromin and the Cortistop, we want to take a break. So it says use daily for 4 weeks and then discontinue for 2 weeks before resuming. Again, this allows your body to do what it's supposed to do. We want to support it, but we also want to allow it to do what it needs to do. So I would love for you to share one thing about your health that you would like to maintain as you age. I know for me, it would be the skin. I would really like to maintain the best skin I can for as long as possible. So Femigen is the next dietary supplement we want to talk about. And these are great for ladies that are childbearing age. So I would say that Endogize is probably, you're looking at maybe 35, 40 years of age is a great place that you might want to start that and on up throughout your whole life. And then Femigen is probably good from about 20 to probably about 45. And I know there's a space in between 35 and 45 that you may sometimes need Femigen, you may sometimes need Endogize. You have to see what works for your body. I would say my early 40s, Femigen worked great for me, and now I prefer Endogize. All right. So again, Femigen is really going to help with that estrogen, helping with puberty. It helps with cholesterol. It protects bone health for both women and men. And it also affects your brain, mood, bones, heart, skin, and other tissues. All right. It has Clary Sage. It has sage. It has lang lang. It has fennel. And about 2 capsules with breakfast and 2 capsules with lunch is really going to help you to support your hormones on a daily basis. Now, I know this sounds like a random question, but I want to know, do you prefer a yam or a sweet potato? And is there really a difference? Can anybody tell me? So we're going to talk about Progestin Plus, and this is a game changer in my house. So, and it works very well with the Femigen supplement. And some people call it PP, some people call it P+, but what it has in it is a USP grade progesterone from wild yam extract. So that may be why I asked the question, right? So progesterone is a hormone that is produced in the body, and it regulates the menstrual cycle and is crucial for pregnancy. Okay, so you need progesterone to have a healthy libido. And I'm going to tell you, if sleep is an issue, a lot of times that can mean that your progesterone is low too. So what is great is if you will put some of this on your wrist and even on your neck before bed, you may find that it not only helps increase your libido, but it also helps you to sleep better at night. So Progestin Plus is great for those that are wanting to get pregnant, and then for those over the age of 30, because that's a lot of times when we start seeing that progesterone level decrease. I wish I had known about progesterone when I was having babies. So I want you to know that this progesterone is not the same as a synthetic progestin, okay? Synthetic hormones are really bad for you. It can cause life-threatening side effects. That is not this. This is from a natural wild yam extract, okay? Progestin Plus also has copaiba in it, which is also great to help with the body. I love to put Progestin Plus on the back of my neck. Has sacred frankincense, cedarwood, bergamot, peppermint, clove, all of these wonderful, wonderful oils, okay? And it also makes a lovely perfume. And you can add a couple drops on the wrist, the back of the neck, but I do want to tell you my own personal story. So I have known for probably the last 9 years that my progesterone, by looking at these different symptoms and stuff, tends to go low. And I was able to use Progestin Plus a drop or two a day to kind of keep things balanced for quite a while, until this last year when I've kind of started having some perimenopause effects going on, all right? And I don't know if you've heard of muscle testing before, but if you haven't heard of muscle testing, you can look it up on YouTube. There's some videos. I do what's called the sway method. But I wasn't sure how much progestins to use, because people would just tell me, maybe you need more progestins. And I'm like, well, I'm using it every day. How much do I need? And so that was the recommendation. And I found that I actually need about 20 drops 5 to 10 days out of the month. But I will tell you, I sleep amazing doing that. And my headaches that had started coming back, that I hadn't had problems with for years, had returned, have decreased, and I've been able to really start getting my hormones back into balance. So I just want you to know that this is just a recommended amount, but know that your body may need more, it may need less. All right, we are constantly changing. The last 3 oils that I'm going to talk about, no, they're not the last 3, but these are kind of like the happy hormones, the 3 happy hormones. They're great for that time of the month. They're great for postpartum, and they enhance the mood, if you know what I mean. So dragon time is perfect for that time of the month. If anybody's ever called you a dragon, then you want to make sure that you have dragon time available, right? Don't want to be called the dragon lady. It has fennel, clary sage, marjoram, lavender, blue yarrow, jasmine, has all these wonderful balancing properties that makes it a perfect choice for supporting normal, healthy moods. All right. And it's good for young and older women. And then clary sage, I'm telling you, if you want to see something that has been highly researched and had scientific studies done, just Google clary sage, because there is so much information about it. But it really helps with sore muscles, monthly aches, helps improve cognitive function, and actually even helps with the mood for intimacy. So a lot of times we need to be diffusing this all day long, not necessarily right before we go to bed. All right. And then there's Lady Scleral, and this was actually, is only a Young Living product, and it was specifically made for women. Okay, and it's kind of like a perfume. It was made for Mary Young. It smells delicious, and actually really good for the skin. So a lot of times people would put it on the skin, on their faces. All right, and then the next is Endo Flex. And ladies, if we get knocked off, just know to come back and right here, and we will finish up. Okay, so Endo Flex is one that I have found is really a game changer too. It really helps with healthy, happy hormones. We have done 30-day Endo Flex challenges, and people have seen amazing results with that. It allows you to really just try it in different places, because everybody's different. For me, it's the right inner ankle. So what they have found with like reflexes, that right inner ankle is a great place for putting our hormones or balancing our hormones. And for men, it's on the outer ankle. I don't know why my right side seems to give me more energy than my left, but that is what I have found. Some people find it great for their necks. For me, it just wasn't a good place, but everybody's different. And so doing a 30-day challenge really, when you are in just spending that time of writing down how you're feeling while you're using a product can make amazing results. So here's some of the different ways you can use it. Endo Flex is actually a vitality oil, which means you can take it internally. Some people will add it to what's called Ningxia Red and Ningxia Zing to give them more energy. Like I said, for me, I find my right inner ankle, it just gives me an energy burst, okay? And then you can also use it in warm tea or water, or you could put it in a capsule and take it internally. And for whatever reason, this picture is not showing up, but it's